Welcome, everyone. Again, my name is Jimmy Whittyfield. I'm here at the Center for Child Abuse in Oklahoma City, Child Abuse and Neglect, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'm going to be hosting the welcome call today. It's very exciting to have so many people on the call. So I'd just like to go ahead and get started. I do want to first acknowledge the Jersey Children's Alliance. Is through the work of and Nydia that this statewide learning collaborative in New Jersey is possible. And so we are very appreciative of them and their efforts to bring in evidence-based treatment for children with problematic sexual behavior.
I told them on the phone, but I've been able to see everything.
We're on the call. I'm going to mute people just throughout so it reduces background noise, and I'm doing that now. If you want to unmute yourself, it is on the participant list of the WebEx screen. A microphone to the far right of your name that you can click to mute and unmute. So please keep that in mind. And anytime you have a question, unmute and ask your question. Use chat box, which is located in the lower right corner of the WebEx window. And let us know what your questions are. Excuse me. We have some information to cover today, and I'm excited to share with you about the project and what we're going to be doing. Hopefully everyone can see the computer screen. I did send out yesterday a copy of the handout of today's PowerPoint that I'm using for this call. If you did not receive that handout, you'll have a chance to write down an email address at the end of this call. Please let us know when we will get it to you. I want to make sure that you have all the information that you need. So, first, I just want to do a round of introductions. There are a number of us that make up the Training and Technical Assistance team here at CCAN in Oklahoma City. We are also the Training and Technical Assistance team for the National Center on the Sexual Behavior of Youth, which is also housed here. And so you'll hear a number of names of people throughout the project. And what I've done is pulled together the names of people involved just with the New Jersey project. And I want to make sure everyone knows that Olga Starr, not staff, my horrible error, and Nydia Magus are the New Jersey Children's Alliance people who are managing the project in New Jersey. They are a wealth of information as well. For the Oklahoma team, there are a number of people involved. There are going to be 3 training and technical assistance providers in the actual live trainings and ongoing consultation and fidelity review. Paul Schaller, who's here in the office with me. Paul, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Paul Schaller. I'm a licensed clinical child psychologist here in Oklahoma. And again, I had the fortunate opportunity to go through everybody's applications. And again, I'm just super excited to start working with your programs and your communities to improve responses in this area. And I already had the opportunity to speak to many of the senior leaders going into the selection process.
Also very modest. He is really making a name for himself in juvenile justice in Oklahoma and work with adolescents with illegal sexual behavior. He's also trained in trauma-focused CBT and parent-child interaction therapy, so he's no stranger to evidence-based treatment and helping families. He also has good expertise in treating youth with developmental delayed intellectual disabilities. So he's really amazing. Jump next to Julie Jones, and Julie, I've unmuted you if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Julie Jones, as you see my name on your screen, but everybody does call me Julie. I'm, again, a member of the technical and training and technical assistance team. I'm an LPC. I'm a member also, again, not a member, but I provide clinical services in problematic sexual behavior team for not only the group, but also family services. And I'm also a level 1 trainer for PCIT.
Thank you, Julie. I've read you. I'd like to go next to Ben Siegel. Ben, you're unmuted.
Oh, and Bensel here, all part of the Training and Technical Assistance team with NCSBI and OU Health Sciences Center, but I am actually located in Little Rock, Arkansas at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences and the Department of Psychiatry. I am pleased to be leading the clinical training with you all. I also am a TFCBT trainer and a regional PCIT trainer. So happy to be here.
Thanks. Been a student with us way back when, and we never let them get too far away, so we're happy to have him as part of our TNTA team and on this project. I do want to mention that Paul Schaller, the first to introduce, will be leading the senior leader portion of the training, and he is also at Oklahoma the person in charge of this project. And so we're happy to have him as our leader. Again, my name is Jimmy Whittyfield Jr. I'm a licensed professional counselor here. Primary responsibilities are as training director for our PSB Training and Technical Assistance Program. And I am joined by Carrie Schwab, who's also on the call, and I'll give her to introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Carrie Schwab, and I am the Training and Technical Assistance Coordinator for the PSB program.
Thanks, Carrie. The glue that holds us together, and so you will receive emails from her. You'll also receive emails from her assistant, Holly Salem. So they cover a lot of the day-to-day things for us in training projects, and so just on the lookout for Carrie Schwab and Holly Salem in your inbox. So not on the call, but as a part of our team is Trish Gardner. Trish is a lawyer by trade, but is faculty here in our center. She manages the business aspects of training projects. She'll be reaching out to senior leaders soon to start the Business Associate Agreement progress, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the call. I recognize Jane Solowski, who is the director of our training program, and Barbara Bonner, who is the founding developer of this treatment model, both of whom are part of our center, but will not have a direct role in this project. So along today, I'd like to just briefly review the sites that are going to be participating. Actually, Paul will do that. Talk some about the training and what's involved, training requirements, and talk through key dates that everyone will need to know and information related to the training so you can start preparing for those events. I'll pass to you to talk some about the sites that are participating in this learning collaborative.
And I'm not going to take up too much time. You can see on the map kind of where sites are located. Again, Children's Aid and Family Services, St. Francis Counseling Service, Newbridge Services, Catholic Charities, Family Intervention Services, Center for Evaluation and Counseling, Center for Family Services. If you keep all 7 of those straight, I congratulate you. Again, what is really unique about New Jersey and about a lot of the programs that are on the line today is that you all have had more extensive training in empirically supported evidence-based treatments and assessment than many of the states and many of the teams that we've worked with across the country. The other unique thing is that we have a really what I consider almost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where multiple communities and multiple agencies work side by side together to really transform the landscape of New Jersey and how we're responding to youth that have problematic sexual behavior. Again, we have kind of almost full coverage across the state. Again, many of your agencies are large and diverse. And so I really look forward to working with each of you and really looking how you can bring new messages or existing messages and empower your communities to look at how we're responding to youth with problematic sexual behavior. So I'll turn it back over to Jimmy and go from there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paul. I'd like to just acknowledge that we had previous relationships with Children's Aid and Family Services, officially funded by the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, and I've had an ongoing PSB program for about 10 years. And so we're very excited that they are participating in this project and bringing that experience with them They are training additional staff, so we're excited there. And so we've had a previous training relationship with the Catholic Charities Diocese of Trenton in Red Bank, New Jersey. We're funded through a different project from SAMHSA and NCTSN, and have a within-agency trainer for the model in their agency. They're also training additional therapists and sending our way, and we really do look forward to those two sites sharing lessons learned and their experiences, but also them being a part of this wonderful growth and expansion in New Jersey to better serve these youth. So you may remember from the information call, those who were on it was primarily for senior leaders, so if you weren't on it, you didn't miss anything that you won't get today. The Learning Collaborative Model is something that we have adapted several years ago that we really like. It's a model of bringing together different communities, sites, organizations into one collaborative group to learn something new around evidence-based treatment and implementing evidence-based treatment in their community, but really in a way that brings together a wealth of knowledge and experience, brings together different people, different partners in a way that helps build internal capacity within a community, and in this case, across the state of New Jersey, but also to strengthen how evidence-based treatments are implemented and sustained over time. And really an exciting endeavor to do this on a statewide level. We have done other statewide learning collaboratives, and those have been successful, similar to maybe what your experience has been with trauma-focused CBT or other evidence-based treatments. And so we really do look forward to everyone in that collaborative spirit to really change the landscape of New Jersey, as Paul mentioned earlier. So the Learning Collaborative is a staged process. We are currently in the beginning part around pre-work. There are 3 live learning sessions, which we'll talk through in a moment. Between each learning session is an action period. You will not be required to learn all this lingo, I promise. But action periods are time where after training, you go back to your respective communities and you start doing the work. So we're really excited to implement this model again on a statewide level. Project, there are a number of key dates that you'll hear a couple of times regarding live training. So we officially kick off the project today with this welcome call. We will be following up with everyone with materials after this call so you can start preparing for Learning Session 1. That's going to be March 28th through 29th. I'm looking at Paul. I am totally blanking on the location. What city?
I have that currently on me, but I can look it up while the call is going.
Olga, I'm going to unmute you. I am really embarrassed that I don't remember off the top of my head. If you remember the name of the city. From her end. Or I say that out loud before we are done. Oh.
Julie?
Julie?
I think it's in Somerset.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm now remembering I have that later in the presentation as well. Thank you so much. So Learning Session 2 is about 5 weeks after, or 5 or 6 weeks after Learning Session 1. You can see May 15th through 17th. And Session 3 is several months later. It's more of an advanced and booster training. It's in mid-November. So we'll review what's going into each of the learning sessions, so you've got some more information, but this is to give you that snapshot of timeline. I often get ahead of myself, so just with me. Training will be held at the Somerset County Emergency Services Training Academy. Lodge is being recommended in Somerset, New Jersey, so it's about a 10-minute drive. You can see that here on the map. There is some particulars that if you are driving more than 50 miles, there is reimbursement for mileage available. If you're driving under 50 miles, I'm confused. maybe you can tell my coffee is beginning to wear off, and hence the confusion. So let me back up. Those within 50 miles of the training site who choose to drive can be reimbursed for mileage. Those who want to stay at the Fairfield Inn and Suites, where there is a block of rooms reserved, that is also available. And this information will come to you in an email, so you'll have it there. A little bit about people coming in for live training. So what does that mean in terms of the composition of a team? So sites that are going to be doing the group modality of the treatment model, the problematic sexual behavior cognitive behavioral therapy model, a team of 4 clinicians with a clinical supervisor and also a senior leader or an administrator. For the family modality, there'll need to be at least 2 people to do the family therapy, and then a clinical supervisor and senior leader. Communities that are small enough, a clinical supervisor may also be a clinician, and a leader may also be a clinical supervisor and a clinician. So you get an understanding that in doing the group, you really need enough people to do the groups. There's a caregiver group with a concurrent child group, so 2 therapists in each. And doing family therapy in this model, having 2 therapists really is the best shot at sustaining a program in your agency and community. Participating are people that have authority within your organization to make decisions about the treatment program. This really is a unique treatment in terms of implementation because it takes the work of administrators, community partners, and clinicians to fully implement the service in your community. That's why we have senior leaders here. These are people that can help problem solve referral streams or that come up with referrals. As you can imagine, children with problematic sexual behavior are often mismanaged by law enforcement or child welfare, and not in a malicious way. It's just saying, how have we always done this? And asking for there to be culture change, and that's where senior leaders come in.
A few of the other benefits, particularly within New Jersey, again, is our existing relationships at Catholic Charities and with Children Aid and Family Services. The senior leaders have years of expertise at looking at sustaining a program, how it is funded, how to staff it, as well as how they've embedded themselves within communities. And so, again, I think that we're just in a unique situation that I think will benefit all the agencies involved.
Leaders will be required to participate in the live trainings. There is a senior leader track that Paul leads, and also regular consultation calls for administrators. I'll also be attending live training, of course, and receiving clinical consultation, which we'll talk more in about a moment. Part of the process of being in the project will entail clinicians recording therapy sessions and submitting through a secure HIPAA-compliant platform that's encrypted to us recordings of their therapy sessions for fidelity monitoring and review. It truly is for training purposes and nothing else. That means that from the university standpoint in Oklahoma, must have what's called a business associate agreement. That's where Trish Gardner comes in. She'll be reaching out to senior leaders to establish those BAAs so that we can exchange electronic protected health information. So just be on the lookout for an email from her regarding that part of the process. The training model includes several steps that clinicians will need to complete during the course of their time with us. The process is at about a year long, and the requirements for it can be spaced out some. So don't think you immediately have to have everything ready to go right now. So there is a little bit of time. So everyone has to submit an application, which we received applications from everyone. If we don't have your application and we don't know it, please get that to us quickly. I know some sites were still working on identifying clinicians as part of this project. The clinician or the provider applications help us to know who's participating and how we need to tailor our clinical training to best meet their needs and respect their strengths and experiences. Second assignments that will be sent to you within a week include a test that is a true-false 16-question test. Do not research any of the answers, please. Give us just your base knowledge, because we're going to be measuring knowledge change later in the training. We do that everyone complete the National Children's Alliance PSB Video Learning Series, which is about 2.5 hours and is free. You can watch that as a group and get a certificate of completion. We need to make sure that everyone is, has basic introductory training in trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, which I'm fairly certain most, if not all, have. So if you've done the online training, you'll need to submit your certificate of completion. If you've live training or you're certified in that model, you submit that information to us too. But at minimum, you need the online introductory training. There is a $35 cost if you haven't completed that training before 2018. And so that's something to be mindful of. It takes about 10 to 16 hours to get through. That's one that you can pace over time. Once we get your test from you, we will send you the NCA PSB Video Learning Series information and all required readings that take about 2 to 3 hours to get through. Again, you're paying this on your own. All training requirements is that you attend all of the learning sessions, that you participate actively on consultation calls. If you're providing the group modality, they're doing that for a year. It takes most families 4.5 to 6 months to complete the treatment. And so that's being in the children's group, let's say 5 months, and then you switch into the caregiver group for 5 months. So you get fidelity requirements in each. In doing this by family therapy, you provide the treatment for 2 phases over the course of 6 months through successful completion. And so it's a little bit of a shorter time, but the family modality, when you're working with people, that takes 4 to maybe 5.5 months to get through. And so we want you to have experience providing the treatment with a couple of families. Group modality, there should be at least 4 families in the group. They do not need to necessarily complete the group, and so that may be in flux because of the open-ended nature of the group modality in Learning Session 1. Make sure that anyone implementing this model is doing so with an evidence-based perspective, and so understanding and knowing the research and literature is important and should show through in your clinical work. So as an example, we do not refer to children as offenders. We understand that this behavior for the vast majority of children is a behavior problem and not something innately problematic in their brain or the way they do things. We also know from research that using the term offender with youth it creates more harm than it does good. And so you routinely are referring to someone as an offender, perpetrator, or pedophile throughout the treatment. That's in line with the research. And so we would work to help provide you with that understanding and would expect you to really adhere to what is current about research and what we know about this population. That clinicians would be required to submit recordings of therapy sessions. We require those to check people for fidelity requirements. It is a transparent process where we provide those requirements to everyone so you understand what we're looking for in therapy sessions. Are recording 5 or 6 sessions for the children's groups, 6 or 7 for the caregiver groups. In family therapy, it's closer to probably 11 sessions, simultaneously checking child and caregiver fidelity out. And so that is a process that allows us to see in action or hear you in action and then be able to provide you with just more fine-tuned feedback on consultation calls. We're not judging you as therapists. We're merely providing support to learn the model and be able to provide it with integrity. We want to make sure that people are demonstrating on consultation calls the ability to assess progress over the course of treatment, understanding when kids are doing well or not doing well, and being able to articulate that. Ultimately, we will ask clinicians to sign a participant agreement indicating that you understand what these requirements are and that the expectation is that you can complete these requirements during this project. And that's just to make sure that we are all on the same page, that we agree that this is what we're all going to work toward to do together. So that will be something that will be a part of Learning Session 1 that we'll talk more then. Sure that clinicians are getting referrals, and referrals of children, boys and girls, ages 7 to 12. And so that's the focus of this project. We know that you will wind up getting referrals for 3-year-olds and 16-year-olds as sure as anything. And we'll have to defer you to what you've been doing for age groups. Services as usual. Our focus will be on ages 7 to 12. Agencies will also need to allow their clinicians to participate in all training activities for the year, including consultation, fidelity review, etc. You'll need to have appropriate treatment space if you're doing the group modality, so that means rooms to hold everyone, and then caregiver and child groups as well. Have equipment and the time and skill to be able to record sessions and upload sessions, fidelity review, and of course that means having an internet connection. We have some additional information about technology and the editing process if you have questions. And that's a little redundant on my part, that last slide. We will ensure, too, that states are actively using psychological measures and instruments in their assessments of children. We know that you all have been trained in evidence-based assessments as part of the NJCA's past efforts, training efforts in New Jersey. We will spend time with senior leaders talking through how to apply what you've already been trained to do to this population. And very excited that you come with that as a strength.
And so for Learning Session 1, we'll actually schedule a call with the senior leaders to talk through just reporting for this particular project. What we've found and what, again, the folks at New Jersey are really requesting is that the more data that you're able to capture, both as an agency as well as a state, will be able to provide sustainability for your individual sites as well as additional ongoing needs for your communities. And so I'm excited to schedule that call and just be on the lookout for more information to come.
A bit about Learning Session 1. That is a learning session that is going to cover research and background on the population and then clinical assessment. So Learning Session 1, day and 2/3. The day of each learning session that we have, all 3 of them, will end by 3 or 3:30 so that people have ample time to home the same day. And so we'll start about 9 a.m. We'll end day 1 at 5, and the next day at 9, end by 3 or 3:30. Learning Session 1 is really important for everyone to get that foundational knowledge and talk through how research and the literature really applies to your community. We talk about research all day long. That's what we do here. But it doesn't do any good unless it's practical to you. And that's what part of Learning Session 1 does. It brings it into a way that you can use not only within your agency and with your families, but with community partners and with one another to really promote solid evidence-based treatment for this population. Thinking long-term, for agencies that are interested in having within-agency trainers, you have to attend live trainings with us, so that's another reason that these events are so important. If you miss one, it has the potential to knock you out long-term to be a within-agency trainer in the model. And work for Learning Session 1, I briefly mentioned earlier that we'll be sending to you a pre-test. Again, 16 questions, true or false. With that, we'll send you information on the National Children's Alliance PSB Video Learning Series and required readings. We also think it would be good if you haven't completed the online training or any training in TFCBT, start that process now because it takes the longest at about 10 to 16 hours. And for Learning Session 1 to be really in the spirit of learning collaboratives, like for each participating site, so all 7 of you, to come ready to Learning Session 1, a brief introduction to your site, your agency, your community, and your staff. So who are you, what do you do, what are your names, and also talk through what your thoughts are around what's the community for kids with problematic sexual behavior. So are there champions? Are there people that are working really hard to help these kids? Is there something that your community is doing that is really outstanding for this population? And then what are challenges or struggles? Where see barriers? What's not going well? That introduction helps everyone at the learning session better understand not who you are, but how you all fit together in the statewide learning collaborative. It really starts a very rich beginning doing this work and creating change in New Jersey. I also want everyone to prepare just a couple of questions from the required readings that we'll have for discussion. So it may be someone doesn't understand what rhythm rates are for this population compared maybe their experience with adolescents or adults, or what about treatment makes it effective, and you'll learn about that in the required readings. These need to be earth-shattering questions, but we want you to come ready to talk about the research and literature and what you thought was interesting about it, questions you have. Again, it's meant to be interactive and to make it practical to you. We'll have a separate track in Learning Session 1, so participate with the clinicians in the morning. But in the afternoon and on day 2, they'll be meeting with Dr. Schaller to talk through administrative issues to program implementation, referrals, marketing, etc. So I'm ready talking about what your efforts are already with community partners around referral streams, what agency do for marketing, what are the barriers, what are the successes, and just ready to dive right on in. Learning is toward the end of March. It's the 28th and 29th. Excuse me. And I mentioned we'll be covering a range of topics related to the research and literature, but we'll be spending quite a bit of time, a little more than a full day, talking about clinical assessment of problematic sexual behavior in children. So the nuances of clinical interviewing, the application of measures, saying when a child may need trauma versus behavior parent training for disruptive behavior disorder, problematic sexual behavior. And so talking through clinical decision-making, treatment recommendations, diagnosing, etc. And of course, ahead of myself, I've already talked about what senior leaders are going to do. Paul, want to add about senior leaders before I move on?
No, again, I think that we're in a good position. Again, it's really thinking critically through how to make this realistic for agencies, given the policies and procedures and staffing you have. Again, many of the clinicians on their applications noted the importance to have time and dedication to new training models, and I think the senior leaders understood that in our conversations that we've had before the selection process, and so I look forward to seeing how we can make that a reality.
During session 1, we are hopeful that you get into full swing and go back to your respective communities and start doing assessments, build caseloads for groups or family therapy. We will also schedule consultation calls to schedule between the learning sessions, so everyone will have at least one consultation call, and that's talking through assessments and questions from learning session 1. The collaborative model has lent itself very well to services getting implemented very quickly. And so while there's only about 5 or 6 weeks between learning sessions, really does allow time for people to go back and start assessing kids and getting ready to provide the clinical treatment. Learning 2, which is May 15th through 17th. Again, it'll be in Hillsborough, New Jersey, at the Academy there. We'll focus on the clinical treatment model. That's when we'll get the clinical manuals, and we will go through all of the modules and activities that are specific to treating PSB. Senior leaders also will have a track. They continue their administrative work with Dr. Schaller. And it really is and will be an interactive training experience. We want people practicing skills, so when you go back, you are ready to hit the ground running. period too. So after the live event, our expectation is within 6 weeks of that dates in mid-May that people will be up and running providing treatment services, either group or family, to children with problematic sexual behavior and their caregivers. Starting to record sessions, submitting uploads, and starting the consultation calls in earnest. We'll have monthly consultation calls with Dr. Schaller, and we'll continue their work around program implementation while the clinicians are in full practice with families. The last is an advanced or booster training. And so we come through consultation call notes, we talk to all the providers or senior leaders, we look at fidelity notes, and we determine agenda in advance. Where does there need to be additional training? What are people most interested in? Where they need some more support? So we don't know that agenda now. That'll become available closer to that training session, which is November 14th through 15th. What's different Learning Session 3 is that typically the senior leader track is just one day, where clinicians are there for 2 days. Doctors and the senior leaders will make some decisions around the senior leader track, again, based on what the need is. So senior leaders should plan on both days for now, and then you'll better have an understanding of what the time will be closer to then. So the dates for learning sessions are pulled up on the screen, March 28th through 29th. Both days starting at 9, first day ending at 5, and the second at 3:30. Learning Session 2, May 15th through 17th. Again, a 9 to 5 schedule for the first day and 3:30 for the last day. Supplies that are involved with this treatment model, such as therapy puppets, a therapy game that we use, and some other materials, those supplies will be provided to you. So Carrie Schwab will be following up to let you know how we'll get supplies to you for the program. And so that's an exciting piece of this project, that funding for that was available at no cost to participating sites. So we're very appreciative of that. Space needs for the program rollout. For those people who are doing family therapy, of course, you're going to need a room in which to do family therapy. I think that's straightforward. There are going to be some sessions that are caregiver only, and there will be some sessions that you spend some time with a caregiver separate from their child and then the family together. We'll need space where a child and caregiver can wait when they are not in the session for that day. For group therapy, you'll need at least 2 rooms. You need a room for the children's group and a room for the caregivers group. And ideally, one of those rooms is large enough to hold all of the caregivers and all of the children, because there are some combined sessions. Of course, you need space for storing program materials, etc., and any types of tables, chairs, any other furniture or items that you may need. We're providing to you some therapy posters that we have developed and use in our program. And it's ideal if you can have wall space for those. If you don't have wall space, or you have rules about putting things on your wall, or alternatives to that, so it won't interfere with anything. In terms of planning for program implementation, I still be encouraged to identify a target date for getting things up and going, and identifying people who can really be a lead in the program around organizing staff meetings, materials, etc., and keeping everyone on track. Senior leaders will learn more from Dr. Schaller about a program coordinator position that we think is really valuable, that can keep this program really strong. I'm thinking about just the time it's going to take, learn a new model, implementing a new model. It always takes more time in the very beginning, and as you gain experience, then you settle into a routine and you need less time. What we think is important for program rollout is that there's so many misconceptions about children with problematic sexual behavior then there needs to be some agency-wide training about these kids coming to you, and how the program treats these children and their caregivers, what measures are being put into place to make sure that all children are safe, helping people to understand that children with problematic sexual behavior are not dangerous children. They're children that have engaged in a serious behavior, or behavior problem, and with appropriate supports and supervision are fine. But sometimes it takes a little bit of education so everyone is comfortable knowing that these children are coming into your site and will be successful and that we have hope for them and we know that this treatment works. Some things that will need to be considered is just how your team manages travel to get to learning sessions, and that everyone has got time to complete pre-work activities, other training tasks, including consultation calls. So be thinking about that. We're going to be staying in town. Where you would be staying, remember there's a reserved block of rooms at the Fairfield Inn. If you're driving, making plans on what time do you need to leave your community to be on time, probably a little early so we can make sure you are there. Again, just some items that are probably redundant on the screen now. Just again, making sure that there is to record sessions, preferably video record. The audio recording is allowable. And have people that are dedicated to upload those sessions. The University of Oklahoma requires that we use a system called OU Sync and Share. It's also called Syncplicity. It's an encrypted, HIPAA-compliant platform. Each site will get a user account for the person who is uploading recordings, and with instructions for how to do that, we are available to provide support to troubleshoot. It is ideal that recordings are submitted every week, within a week of when they're completed, so that there doesn't become a glut, puts us behind in reviewing recordings, and delaying really fine-tuned feedback to clinicians on how well they're doing and suggestions for how they could improve. We manage those recordings very carefully here in Oklahoma. That's all outlined in the Business Associate Agreement. Once we review a recording and we provide feedback, it's deleted permanently from our server. There's no way to retrieve it. And I think that's important so that you know your client's information has been secure when it comes to us. We are going to require that each site a short recording of your clinical space and a test upload to Syncplicity, so we can start working out any technical issues now. I don't want video of any clients, just of the clinical space. We find that the quicker we can get that done, the more likely we can work out any tech issues, and so there is an open door when sessions are started. So ultimately, I don't want everyone to upload their virtual tour of clinical space no later than May 3rd, so that in between learning sessions 1 and 2, the sooner really the better. Some places do have technological issues that IT has to get involved, so we want to make sure that there's ample time to sort through that. Stretch. So just again, a list of dates that are really key. We hope that you are writing down. You'll get this information as well in the handout. So I will start working between now and the end of March to work on pre-work activities. That's the pre-test, the APSB video learning series, the required meetings, and the online introductory training for TFCBT. By the way, we require that online training for TFCBT because we think it provides a really solid couple of things. One is an understanding about child trauma, and second is cognitive behavioral therapy skills. And so it provides a foundation coming into this training. Also know that many children with PSB have a trauma history of some kind, live in toxic stress environments, and some understanding about how to help them will help clinicians in the context of PSB treatment.
Fortunately, the vast majority of applicants already have that excellent training. And so again, for those that haven't had that experience, I'm sure that you'll hear from others, that it is really well done and something that I hope that you'll value just in your professional education.
Learn again is March 28th through 29th. You're going to upload a virtual tour of your clinical space is May 3rd. Learn is May 15th through 17th. We have an expectation that clinical services will start for all sites no later than June 28th. That's 6 weeks after learning session 2. And then session 3 is November 14th through 15th. If questions, you need to be in touch with us. The email address you should contact is ou-ypsb@ouhsc.edu. So ou-ypsb@ouhsc.edu. Schwab will manage your emails accordingly. You also reach out to us by phone at any time. We have 10 minutes, and I'm going to mute people. And so there isn't a ton of background noise, but if you have questions, any comments, now is the time for us to talk through. Any questions? And if you have questions, you may just want to mute your line yourself so that reduces background noise.
I have a question. I don't know if I missed this from the information. Maybe you said it before, so I apologize if you did mention. But I took the TSKVT online training. Would I need to take that again, or if I show like the certificate that it is sufficient?
Great. If you just share your certificate, that's all that we need.
Can you repeat that question again? I couldn't hear.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where the background noise is coming from, and I don't know. So I'm just going to briefly mute you. The question was, if you've already completed the online introductory training for TSCBT or training, do you need to redo it? And the answer is no. If you have a certificate of completion for online training, you would submit that, so there's no need to redo it. If you have completed a live training and you have a certificate of attendance for the live training, you can submit that. Or you are certified, nationally certified in TFCBT, you submit documentation of that. Answer your question?
That wasn't my question, it was Jocelyn.
Well, whose question that is, I hope I answered it.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, that was from LIS, wasn't it?
Jocelyn from
Everyone gets credit for that. Clarify that.
No, I'm gonna give up. I'm just giving up now. I'm done. What other questions?
Jocelyn from Newbridge.
Thanks,
Yes.
Jocelyn. What other questions do people have?
Hi, this is Ali from Catholic Charities.
Yeah.
I have a question for the recordings of the sessions. If we have the sessions in Spanish, would somebody to translate them for the observations?
That's an excellent question. We are not able to currently code fidelity for group done primarily in Spanish. This is right now something that we don't have. We are, by the end of February, expecting to have all of the clinical materials translated into Spanish and available for clinicians to use. So unfortunately, we cannot code sessions from the group modality or the family modality that are done primarily in Spanish.
And so with that being said, what we would request, because we know that's a big push, at least for your agency as well as maybe some others, is that you are get an opportunity to either to complete group English or a few family cases in English to be checked off for fidelity.
Okay. Okay.
Our team is working to build capacity to be able to provide fidelity monitoring in Spanish, but it will not be any time in the foreseeable future. There are teams across the country that provide the treatment completely in Spanish. I think of colleagues in Los Angeles, Fort Worth, the Bronx, Miami, but unfortunately none of them are available to do the fidelity monitoring.
Thank you.
We have a few minutes left, and I would like to just offer to Olga Starr if there is anything that you want to, Olga may not be on anymore. So if Olga is on. Oh, fantastic. Anything that you would like to say as we're finishing up?
Nothing specific, just wanted to say thank you to you guys. We really appreciate, all the information and just staying on top of everything throughout all of this. If anybody still needs information on the location, the hotel, any of the reimbursement details or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. I can also just reset that information separately, because I know Nydia included it with a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's it. We're very excited that we have many agencies that are going to be on board and that we're going to be able to serve this population. And we just look forward to meeting everybody in March.
Thank you. I am sad that I will not be part of the team traveling to New Jersey. You will only get to know me by my voice, which be a blessing for most people on the call, I might say. Thank you all for being on this call. It is a lot of information, so please do not hesitate to contact us if you have questions. We send out additional information within the next week regarding this call, the pre-work activities, learning session materials. Thank Olga for offering to send out information on lodging and the training site and mileage reimbursement details. I'll survive the winter vortex that is coming your way this weekend. It will be in Oklahoma Friday night, and so we'll have temperatures drop from about 58 degrees to 28 degrees overnight. And happy to pass that on to you the weekend. So enjoy on our behalf. Again, thank you all very much, and I think we're done with the call. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye.